Welcome to the Finance Geeks, a podcast about real financial planning. Join us as we get into the nitty-gritty, discussing everything from pensions to portfolios. If you're into numbers, strategies, and running a successful practice, this is your ultimate geeky hangout.
Welcome to Season 2, Episode 7 of the Finance Geeks podcast. Thanks for joining us. My name is Warren Shute. I'm here joined by
Paul Cleworth.
Happy Christmas and New Year, Paul.
Yeah, you too.
Today, we're talking about business planning, how to set up your business for a great year ahead. So before we dive into that, Paul, how was your Christmas and New Year?
It's good, very busy, very nice. I will probably lose some listeners or viewers by telling them that I went to Dubai for a week with my kids, and we stayed in a lovely hotel, and we went on it was mid-20s, and we went to a water park. We got a week's pass to the Atlantis water park. But we decided, no, we're going to get away literally over Christmas, 22nd to the 29th, or to the 30th, I think it was. Get away for a bit of sun. My brother lives in Dubai, so we went to see him and his wife and 3 kids. That was fun. And when we got back, literally had New Year here, celebrated it until about 9:30, then went to bed. So that's pathetic. But because I stopped
at 9:30?
Yeah, I did, yeah. Because we're all tired, jet lagged and so forth. And then the next day went to went to Wales to the in-laws for
Similar.
3 nights. Yeah, it's not quite the same, is it? But you see, because of an illness, brought on completely by myself, feeling terrible for a nice meal out with my friends in London on the 18th of December, I sort of drank too much, a bit poorly.
Still suffering.
Yeah, I was. And I think that my immune system was low, got RSV or some kind of COVID, some kind of cold chest infection over Christmas. Didn't help being at the water park, being cold and everything else. As I say, you're always wet through. But it's taken 2 weeks to get over it. Anyway, 23rd of December, pre-Christmas, stopped drinking, not drunk since. Plan to not drink until the end of January at least. And then if I do start drinking again, it's just going to be on a Friday or a Saturday night. So big plans a big health kick. To try and eat better, sleep better, a bit more gym, 4 times a week rather than 3, albeit not as intense. And as part of my health kick, I'm now getting serious about taking a daily multivitamin tablet, an omega-3, 2 of those, fish oils and stuff, a vitamin D tablet, some creatine monohydrate, yes, for better recovery, and some whey protein. Now, anybody who's not a gym goer will not really care about any of these things, but yeah, I think that it's going to help with, recovery and muscle development. And I've got to get into it. I'm taking responsibility, Warren, for my health and fitness.
I got a challenge for you, okay? You don't even know about this, but it's just come to me. We've agreed in our office. So everyone in our office is doing hard 75. I think it's called hard 75.
What does that mean?
You ever heard? I don't know. Basically, 75. It's a workout.
Hang on, you just talked about it. You don't know what it's about.
Well, I do know what it's about, but it's a workout. It's a workout.
Right.
75 hard.
75 hard. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to send you it. So basically, it's you follow a nutrition plan, an eating plan. They don't dictate which one.
Yeah.
No cheat meals for 75 days. That's why it's called 75 hard. Okay.
Complete a series of daily tasks and restrictions, including working out twice a day, drinking a gallon of water.
But okay, hang on. But one of those workouts can be a walk outside. One of them's got to be outside. So I walk in the morning, as you'll know, because you watch my videos. I include that, and I go into the gym, do weights, drink a gallon of water a day, which is like 4 liters, I think, which might be on the high side of fairness, even though I think that's a bit high. And then read 10 pages of a non-fiction book, because you can't read your cartoon magazine. And then do a progress pitch. But yet, one of the guys just raised his hand. I thought, you know what? It's not that challenging, is it? It's just like
it depends on what your motivations are, doesn't it? I mean, this sounds like a social media sort of TikTok type new model, new wave, diet structure or something, or fitness regime. Whereas all you really need to do is to have have 2 or 3 high intensity workouts per week if you want, and work to a calorie deficit. You need to basically burn more calories than you eat and consume.
I can't wait to see the new sexy you with your biceps out.
Well, I'm trying to not look like melted ice cream. I'd rather not have a dad bod. I don't think I do, but it's about feeling good. I'm not. Listen, the people at the water park where we went, the majority of them have got absolutely no shame whatsoever. We saw people in far worse form. If you want to feel good about your body and not have body dysmorphia, go to a water park, regardless of the time of year, and look around. And people be wearing, swim suits and things that they shouldn't, and have got ripples and odd shaped bodies. And we saw guys walking around with what looked like zip on Wookiee suits. I mean, literally,
Wookiee suits.
look, hairy back, hairy everything, thinking you should not be allowed in public. Anyway, I just walk around in my
Mankini.
normal shorts, not mankini, not no, but also with a rash vest on as well. So it's just a long sleeve rash vest.
You're taking the mickey out of the guy with the Chewbacca suit on, and you walk around with a rash vest on. You're in a water park.
I know, that's what it's for. It's for people go surfing. They wear them partly to not get a rash when you're paddling out, but also UV protection, and it keeps you warm as well. And so you don't have to show off your body even if you've got a great body. Anyway, listen, Warren, what have you been up to over Christmas and New Year?
I had a good Christmas. I had a great Christmas, in fact. Christmas for me was very much about relaxing, taking it easy. I was talking earlier off there. I watched Wonderful Life, which is my tradition, along with National Lampoons. So the family...
Which one? The Christmas National Lampoons?
Yeah, Christmas. Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So I watched that one with the family. We all giggle at that. And then I watched Wonderful Life on my own. My wife actually sat me for a bit, but she's doing something. I read a great book. Christian in the office bought me for Christmas Deep Work by Cal Newport. Mm-hmm. Have you read it?
I've got it on the. I've read Slow Productivity by Cal Newport, but
amazing book, love it.
Yeah,
absolutely love it. Really got me thinking. Got that, so I got through that before Christmas, which was great. And then started working on another book. So it's really quite good for me to do a bit of reading. And then New Year, we went down to Bovey Castle. We was away, so I was playing golf on New Year's Eve, which was nice with my son. Very, very windy, but New Year's Day was wet and horrible. So, but I was there singing Auld Lang Syne at, I don't know, midnight, and then we was up to about 12:30 or whatever. And then
it's overrated. Yeah. It's overrated. Waiting up till midnight, you just feel tired. And
we had fireworks and stuff. It's a celebration. It was a party. So I had a good Christmas, a good New Year, and feel very refreshed. I'm not back in the office yet. I go back in Monday. Today I did a bit of office work, and I've got a coaching group tomorrow, right. But no client work. I've not looked at my emails yet, so I'll have a bit of a shock on Monday. That's been
very good. Very good. So you've avoided, have you, the lurgy over Christmas and New Year? Because a lot of people do get poorly over Christmas.
Yeah, they did pretty much. My sister's got it. She had it quite bad. My dad's got a bit of a cough, bless him. He's not too bad. Nikki's got a bit of a cough, but I've not caught it. A little bit of a cough. You spoke about vitamin D. I take a lot of vitamin D. This time of year, I take about 3,000 IUs of vitamin D every day. So sometimes more. If it's a blue sky, say, so I'm okay on 3,000. But if it's pretty low, I might even up that. So, I get that sad syndrome. I wake up in the morning and I have my coffee. I'm a real creature of routine. Double espresso, 2 dates, sit down, I read the paper, and I have one of those sad lights, those Lumi lights on me. Just okay, come on, baby, give me some California sunshine. So,
okay. Yeah. Hey, listen, you gotta have your routine. I'm all up for that. So talking about routine, and the year ahead and setting up for a year ahead. Today's episode is entitled Business Planning, How to Set Up for a Great Year Ahead. You run a business, I run a business. I believe today you've sat down with your team and talked about goals and aspirations and planning and so forth for today. Is that right?
That's absolutely, yeah. So actually on Wednesday, I sat down with my wife and we do our own planning. So we go through all the finances of the company, make sure everything's in order. We know what we're talking about and everything's on spot. We then do our own financial plans. We do that in the morning. We then have lunch with our own financial planning meeting. So we have a general financial planning meeting with the agenda and cash flow and everything else. And we've made some changes because of what's happened business properly for such like. And then today I go through and we call it the State of the Nation address. So we do ours every 90 days. So today's was a bit longer because we recap the previous year, but every 90 days we sit down, we revisit our purpose, our mission, our values, and go through. I added a few more extra bits in there today. But I think it's really important. I think you said the same thing. to make sure everyone's singing off the same hymn sheet. We're all aligned. We know why we're here, who we work with, what we believe in, and that kind of thing. And it doesn't hurt to revisit those values and sort of challenge them and say, are we living our values, or are they what we say we are, and stuff like that. So big thing. What about yourself? How do you manage?
So I think it was Monday this week. So I got back into work on the Monday, and I had a meeting with the team. Firstly in the morning, about 10:30, to talk about an update on all the client stuff that's going on. So a big list of clients, reviews, meetings, work that's going through, what's going on with this client, with their application, with their policies, and so forth. And then in 2:30 in the afternoon, we had a meeting about a sort of company meeting addressing what we've just said here, setting up for 2025. What's our core focus? What things are we going to consider to do this year that's different? What went well last year? What things can we do to try and improve? And I've always been big on efficiency, and the word that should be used more in any business is productivity. It's the same for the country at the moment, the state of our country. If you can improve productivity, everything works better, because people work quicker, faster. It generates more taxation, so forth. So I don't want that to conflate that with working harder, and rather working without a purpose and just saying, right, it needs to be more. More isn't always better. Our focus in the meeting wasn't how many more clients are we going to sign up, where are we going to be, and with our assets under management and turnover. But it's always part of any business's goal. Any business should be focused, as you've discussed there, on what are the overheads, what's our turnover, are we going to be in profit, are we going to and you want to maintain that. And if anything, it needs to be an upward graph. You need to have a continued profitability, so you can pay your staff more and factor in raised expenses for the year. But I think instead, where we are, because we're quite a mature business, the emphasis for us isn't this year, for the whole year, as far as we can see it, isn't on more. It's on almost a resetting. It's on consolidation. It's on getting the processes right, developing the client experience, engaging more with clients, and sort of just taking a step back almost. Because we are in a fortunate position where we are profitable as a firm, and yet you think there's so much changing. I've got to account for that, increased costs and so forth. But how can I do my job better? Who do I serve? And in that case, the answer's obvious. It's my clients. And what do I want this year to look like? Because I want to practice what I preach. I don't want to be stressed and it's the silent killer, as I said to my clients. I'd rather work efficiently and productively, and enjoy my job.
So not all of our listeners will be in the same or similar situation as we are. Yeah. So why don't we just spend a couple of minutes just explaining what we maybe did in the earlier days, or what we would do now if we were growing the business.
Yeah,
that might
absolutely. And what you would do generically with other businesses when you're sort of setting up for the year ahead.
So you're aware, I run this coaching program, and day one of the program is all on this. This is what we do. In day one's tomorrow. And I do that with every group, no matter what time of year they start, because I think it's the most important thing. It's like, set your system up and then work the system. And the first thing that I get all the participants to do is look at their diary and then book out their time. So, okay, when are you working, when are you not working? Let's schedule that. Let's book it out. And I try and encourage, and I don't insist on it, but I try and encourage a 6-week on, 2-week off cycle.
Yeah.
I think
that's
good
how you work, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know what? I'm going to come back to work really refreshed, really enthusiastic, really energized, because I've just had this period of time off. And I've done no work. I've just sort of read leisurely things. I've just had some, buffer time, as Dan Sullivan refers to it. And I think it's really important that it's coincidental that I think this way. But reading the Cal Newport book, he's very intense. He's like, deep time is focused, intense time. And I think I can be quite like that with work. In it, focused, and then off. Yeah. And it works really quite nice.
That's quite hard to be able to. That's a skill to be learned. To be fully engrossed in what you're doing, be on the ball, be in the moment, finger on the pulse, give your clients and your team and your staff your full attention, and then to be able to switch off, to be able to not think about it is a massive skill, because it reduces stress as well. And if you're super organized, I've got to the point personally where this is not me sort of suggesting, right, I know everything, I'm super organized, I can't improve. This is me saying, as a habit, I've learned that when it gets to about 5 or 5:30, and I've given all that I can give for the day, or rather I feel like I've been productive. If I feel like I've achieved something, I then just, even if I've got more to do, I just say, right, I'm gonna stop today. I'm gonna turn my computer off. I'm gonna go into the house, give the time to my children, and focus on them, and
Good on
do the
you.
routine, the evening routine, because there are times during the day you can only really realistically be on form for a certain number of hours. There's just no way in an 8-hour day you can be solid on the ball for 8 hours. You can't do it. We're not,
No.
even if you're a youngster, if you're in your 20s, you can't be productive constantly throughout the day. There are moments when you can be on the ball, and others where you're having a coffee,
Yeah.
having a walk, washing your hands, whatever it is, having your lunch.
And as a 50-year-old, I agree with you. But when I was starting out, I never thought that way. It was like just I had accelerator on, and that was it. It was just full go all the time, kind of thing.
Yeah. But you have to
But
listen to your body. You have to listen to yourself. And
yeah,
it's not just your body, it's your mind as well. There are times during the day where I know I'm productive. I mean, you take Jeff Bezos as an example, the guy obviously founded Amazon. He'll have all of his meetings. I think it's either 10 or 11 o'clock. He'll prepare for them. He's on form for them. He's been to the gym. He's had a walk. He's fully on the ball in the moment, completely focused at that particular point. Similar to yourself, I know fellow financial planners might have their client meetings at various times. Mine tend to be at 10 in the morning
yeah,
or 2 in the afternoon. If it's during the day, client says I want to see you at midday, I might make an exception, but it's like, well, that's lunchtime. And if they say I want to
100%.
see you at 8:30, I'm like, well, okay, but I'm taking my kids to school then, or rather I'm having breakfast or taking the dog for a walk. And I know about my routine each week is, these are the dates that are on offer, these are the times that are on offer, that's when I'm going to do it, that's when I'm going to be at my most productive.
So that's a really good key takeaway, and I completely agree with you around that. So look at your week or look at your year, book your time out, book your time in, and then I don't know if you did this. I looked and thought, okay, look, what do I want to turn over this year? What's my revenue? What's my cost of the business going to be? What's my minimum? What do I want to earn personally? What do I need to
Yeah.
put aside? What's my minimum revenue per client? I would do that sum, and I'd work out how many clients I've got, and I'd segment them throughout the year.
Yeah.
And I didn't know I did this. It was actually Lewis who worked with me. He said to me, well, you do a form of batching. I actually did used to batch. I used to put them all at the beginning of a quarter. So
Okay.
I tend to work the year in quarters, 90 days. I tend to put them at the beginning of the quarter. So at the end of the quarter, it'd be very, very quiet for existing client planning meetings. And I'd use that for sort of prospecting or acquiring new clients and that sort of stuff, or marketing work.
Yeah.
So it's having these skill sets, these strategies that work for you as a listener to enable you to achieve what you want to do.
And it depends what phase of your business that you're in, not just your age, but what you could be in your 50s, but starting out a new business. Um, I think it's this idea of, as you said, being organized, valuing your time, and being productive. I know a lot of advisors, for example, will go do a lot of CPD, go out and about, spend a lot of time traveling, spend a lot of time in events and seminars and webinars. And I've got to the point, well, a long time ago, where I thought that my time is more valuable than that. I'll go to some of them because it's a bit of fun and I can get the CPD, I can tick the boxes, hopefully I can learn something. But if I spend most of my time writing social media articles, or listening to webinars, I'm not actually doing my job as a financial planner. I'm not either running my business and dealing with the management side of it and the staff, or I'm not seeing my clients and giving them advice. So,
100%.
shout out
100%.
to, based on what you've said, shout out to Nick Lincoln, Values Divisions, fellow friend of ours. He says, what you do is you work it backwards, like you said. What do I want to earn? How much do I need to turn over? From a sales background, I was always taught, if you like, of number of demonstrations, number of calls, number of knocks on doors or phone calls or whatever. The number of demonstrations of the product equals the number of potential sales. And
Yeah.
then when you work out the numbers and you say, what's my average package size or sales size? What is that going to generate? And you can formulate how many appointments do I need? What's the average size of my sale? And if I do this, what will my revenue be? And it's obviously different for a business that is a service-based business that generates an ongoing revenue to one that's selling widgets that has to sell X amount of them every month to stay alive. But the principle is the same.
Yeah.
It's organizing your time, valuing your time. Is what I'm doing productive? Is it generating a revenue? Am I getting cost effective time, and being paid for this time that I'm spending?
And if you are a one-man band looking to grow your business over time to take staff on, I would act as if now. I would act as if I was the business owner of the business that I wanted in the future. And I would be setting it up now in that way. So I'd be having these meetings, even if it was with myself, I'd be doing my mission statement, my values, my goals, my outcomes, that kind of thing. And we break it down into quarterly rocks, so that you're setting yourself up so that when you do attract these people, it's not the first time you've ever done it. It's not your first rodeo. You've been doing it for the last couple of years. You know how to do it. You just got somebody else on board to do it with you now.
It's such a big topic talking about how to run a business, how to plan for the future, how to sort of further tweak the business processes, and what to do for this year based on which phase of your development you're in. But what I would say is that there's some very generic things that anybody can do, which is very similar to the 3 points that I've got when I'm talking to clients. One is very much where am I now? What's happening right now? Forget what's actually happened in the previous year or 10 years. Where am I now, both financially, physically, personally, mentally? And if you know where you are, as I say, if you're running a business, you know how many staff you've got, you know what your turnover is, what your client numbers are, what your overheads are, and you know what your brand looks like. And it's a realistic overview and to get an impartial view of where am I now. The second point is, well, what's the plan? Where do I want to get to? In terms of for financial planning, achieving financial independence. When's that going to be? How much is enough? What's that going to be? And the third part is always, am I on track? Am I on track to get there? Is it realistic? Am I going to be okay? It's as simple as that, those three parts. So the first thing I think you need, besides a realization of where you are, is some MI. You need the management information when you're in a business to know not just what your costs and expenses are, but as you've suggested on there, the data on the number of clients you've got, the average client case, the amount of time you spend on each meeting, and it goes on and on and on. And there's lots of MI that you can get, not to be overwhelmed by it, but sufficient to analyze it to say, okay, we can use this information to make some changes.
And do you know what? If you're listening to this and you're a new firm, this is really, really important stuff, because when you've been going 10 years, it's really nice to look back and see where you've come from. Going back, I've got these State of Nation meetings going back 10, 12 more years, something like that. And I can look back at the presentations and what I've gone through, and we've got the ratios and the KPIs, everything else on there. And it's like, wow, yeah, give myself a pat on the back. I feel quite proud of what we've accomplished over this time. It's a nice thing to do. So just because you're not where you want to be today, you do what you need to do. You take the right decisions, add more value, run a sufficient business. You will get there. It's nice to look back and reflect.
Well, persistence is key, isn't it? You've got to be running in the right direction, but you can't. It's setting expectations as well to realize that as long as you are doing the right things, it means that if you do more of them, and you, whether that's selling more or more appointments or whatever, that you'll make progress. Again, it's easy for someone who's running a successful business to say, "Oh, this is how you do it. This is definitely the way." But I think that there are key takeaways for anybody listening to this, where you think, well, what are my procedures and processes? Do I even have them? Are all my people that I work with, are they doing things the same way? Do we have an agreed way of doing things? Can we measure it? And as well as having the right software and systems, processes, procedures, you've then got to think about the documents that you use, and the templates that you use. Are they up to date? Are they accurate? I mean, someone who's got that degree of detail, that finer detail, will look at, personally I do. I'm very fond of looking at people's email signatures. They look at their letterheads. You look at their website. Does it work quickly? As part of your MI, you're asking yourself, do I answer the phone quickly when the clients call? How do I answer the phone? All of it is part of your brand. And if you're one who does sweat the small things, you are much more likely to run, in my opinion, a decent business than one who just, forgets a lot of these things, and people are running in different directions, and all your clients are getting different experiences.
Yeah.
It should be joined up thinking. Do you agree?
Yeah. I partially agree. I completely agree that it has to be a system and joined up thinking and everything else. We have an operations manual that we went through today, actually, make sure that we're still doing it the same way. We made a couple of tweaks. But I don't go to the detail that you do, and that's a compliment, if I'm honest. We don't sweat the small stuff, So the speed of a website and things like that, how many rings the phone take, we just take it that we're going to answer the phone on time and stuff like that. We have policies that we want to emails responded within 24 hours, and confirmation letter going out, but in a respectful way, you do it better at the detail stuff like that.
But it depends on your personality, doesn't it? And the relationship you've got and the expectations you've set for your clients. And so, I'm very, very big on communication. As in, if I send you an email, Warren, and you're my financial planner, if you've given me the impression that you'll respond very quickly, because you do generally, whether it's in the evenings or weekends or whatever, just the response time during the week. If you were to do that, you're setting an expectation that in the future, you would expect me to get a very quick reply. If instead you say to all your clients, as we do, if you call, we'll aim to call you back within 24 hours. If you email me, I will aim to email you back within 48 hours. Just the fact that I do email clients, relatively quickly doesn't mean that I'm promising guaranteed to get back to them very, very quick. But at the same time, I would apologize if a client had emailed me and I didn't get back to them for 4 or 5 days. I think in the email itself, I'd apologize to say, I'm sorry I didn't get around to emailing you very quickly. It's been very busy, yada, yada. And again, it's partly down to the language that you're using. But there are firms out there. There are people that I know, tradesmen that I've used, whatever you call them, they don't reply. They don't email you. The quotes come through. Everything's just delayed. You don't know what's going on or when the service is going to be delivered. And you think, and they want top dollar for it.
And I think what's important is you have a service standard, over deliver, under promise kind of thing. And don't set yourself up for success. So one of the things that we have is when we have a new inquiry come through, the team in the office book the call for me, and they always book it for the following week. And that's intentional, and it's a little bit of a nuance there. And it's because we want the client or the prospect to appreciate that, okay, Warren just can't drop everything and speak to me. He's got the things that are important, and he'll speak to me, but he's going to speak to me next week kind of thing. So we always sort of try and set expectations that, hey, we're there for you. We will do 100% for you, but we have a team of people we're looking after, and you're one of those important people.
Totally. I think that's interesting. That setting expectations is super important in that regard, and making sure that your client doesn't understands that there are multiple clients that you're looking after, and that you will get to them and you will give them your full attention.
So bring it back to things that people can do in January to set up 2025 on a good stent. I think we've both agreed that putting out their diary, putting in their personal time, their CPD time, their training, that kind of thing, putting that in first.
Yeah. Okay. So I can talk accurately and passionately about my own business and the financial planning business generally. What I don't want to do is to sort of generically talk about all types of business and how you can progress and make changes for two, because it's very specific, and I wouldn't want to talk about a business type that I don't know. But what I can tell you is that for the beginning of this year, in the client meeting, in the team company meeting that we had, we did initially start by reviewing 2024, and we talked about what went well and what wins we had, what standout events, what feedback we got, and then how we can improve, what things didn't go perhaps as well. Earlier, Warren, you sort of talked about looking back over these 90-day periods and looking back on saying this is what we did and achieved. What came to mind when you said that was every 6 months we do a review of the clients, the assets under management, the revenue, and the ongoing and the data, and the stats, the MI stats. And by putting it in a graphical format, ever since Tandem started in 2016, which is what we do, we can see this sort of upward trend of where we've come, and how, and looking at that, you can then give yourself a bit of a pat on the back, or you can explain, if it wasn't as good that year, why it was the case. And you have to look at this information if you're a business that's been going more than a year, to be able to know where you've come from and how things have been going. You can then set your trajectory moving forwards and give yourself a realistic expectation of where the turnover will be, where the expenses will be, because you have to take it super seriously and take responsibility for things. You can't run in any business just pretend that the turnover is just going to be 50% higher this year unless you've got a really good growth plan. The expenses, you've got to assume certain things are going to be more expensive and then cut other things out. And you've got to remain profitable and a finger on the pulse again, with your income and outgoing.
Just two things I want to raise on that. One is about the expenses. We have a little acronym. We say, do we need this? Do we want this? Can we get a similar experience for less? So we do that with all the expenses. And we've just had a rejig with our mobile phones and everything else in the office and stuff. We've saved a bit of money there.
That's good.
But yeah, it's just trying to, like you said, keeping an eye on the expenses. Are they necessary? Can we squeeze them down a little bit? We're very happy to pay for things that we're using a good value, but otherwise, if we can get rid of it or not. But the other thing I wanted to raise was, I don't know if I mentioned it on the last episode, but closing unclosed loops. So our brains like to finish things off. And if we don't close them off, subconsciously it's ticking away in the background. So one of the things I recommend to everyone is to go through your diary, start in January 2024, and just have a look through and think, make sure contacts, things were closed off, there's no undone business there. And when you've gone through the 12 months, it kind of settles 2024 and puts it to bed. And it allows you then to move on with a bit more confidence into 25.
Yeah,
so
definitely. I've got a board. I've mentioned this in the last podcast, a whiteboard where we've got 5 or 6 projects ongoing that I'm going to try and focus on now to close off or cancel. Depends how important they are. We can move forward this year. You mentioned earlier on about booking in the diary. I think at the beginning of this year, one of the things that I'm looking to do when we have a new staff member start on Monday is to use Thomas to help us book in CPD events, webinars, seminars, client events, company socials, and that sort of thing. For us all, we have a big calendar on the back of one of the doors so no one can see it, if you like. So we use an Excel-based calendar for holidays and sick days. We have a calendar that's a massive 365-day calendar, A3 style, where you put stickers on for everyone's birthdays, for everyone's holidays. And the team put it in my diary so I can just see on my Outlook calendar when they're off and on holiday. No one's going to be overlapped, so we have a holiday arrangement, so we don't have 2 people off at the same time if we can help it. And the team will always ask me as the managing director, can they have this time off? And it's almost always yes at this certain date. So you get organised with the holidays, with the events, and then the next thing after resolving that, if you like, we talked about this sort of vision for the forthcoming year and went around the table and sort of said, what do you think we need to achieve? What do you want to achieve? What do you think we should achieve? And as I say, we talked about new staff members coming on board, whether it's Thomas on Monday or a potential second advisor later this year, maybe there's another staff member the following year. And the reason why this is relevant to me, I had this sort of mini epiphany, and again after hearing this on a podcast, not this one, some other, where it said a business is only a business if it can run without you. It's something Jeff Bezos has said, I believe it, and it made me think, wow, I really need to employ more staff, more team members now, so that we get to a point where my business Tandem can run essentially without me. And that's my goal over the next 3, 4, 5 years. It's going to take that long to do that, possibly longer, possibly 10 years, to the point where I'm still here, but at the same time, I'm not dependent. The advisors can give advice, the administrators can do their work, and the power planners can do the plans.
It'd be great if you're like the rainmaker. You're going out, you're getting inquiries, doing the marketing, bringing, because you're very good with marketing too. But if you're bringing the clients in and then passing them over to trusted people,
that's where the difference between a complete solo advice firm where there's one person running it, and I'm a solo advisor, but at the same time there's a number of at least 4 of the staff that will be from Monday: Kevin, Catherine, Thomas, and my wife Alison. So there's at least 5 of us that are running the business, and there's no way I could do it without them, quite frankly. So you then get to a point where you think, do I need another advisor? In my case, yes. I think I can do with an advisor, ideally this year, and then over time I'd bring on another one. And as long as everybody's doing it the Tandem way, essentially my way, and saying the right things, advising the same way, it will develop the brand and develop the business.
Yeah. And I think the brand, the culture. So in our meeting today, we spent a lot of time on culture. And I brought up this statement and I said, do you buy in on this? This is what I've developed for culture of the firm. And everyone was like, yeah, that's exactly right. It's the culture of the company. So we're going to now broadcast that we're recruiting for a power planner. So we'll use that in our marketing for that. And we have this acronym of PRIDE. I mentioned it off air. And it stands for personal responsibility in delivering excellence. And we had a section in our training say about, I want you to act like the owner. If you're a business owner, what would you do? Because when you're acting at that level, not at a passive level, you're making decisions. And part of this culture statement is no one member is greater or is more important than the team. And we have this real drive about team. Everyone has empowerment to make these decisions. And it's great. It's really, really good. Just trying to bring these things up. When there's a challenge, I see it as my role to solve that challenge for them. If they've got a problem, they can bring me the solution. My job is to get that solution in place for them. So yeah, it's good.
That mindset, incredibly important. If everyone's thinking, like you've just mentioned there, in terms of what's best for the team, what's best for the brand, what's best for the company, that will filter through in terms of the experience that the clients get. So on that note, we talked next in our meeting about the client experience and how we can improve it. So we're going to do some surveys this year. We brainstormed about some new events, some new software. We're going to use some digital tools, some branded items, things that we've bought that are branded, things that we are sales aids and documents we're going to further develop. Because there's a perception that just because you send out emails, company emails, that clients read them, and they don't. A lot of them don't. They might browse over it, and they have an opinion of you based on their own personal experience. From phone calls to emails to face to face. So I'm not going to ask all my clients, how do you like to be communicated with? And one says text, one says email, one says phone, and you're like, oh my god, I know it's difficult. But I am going to ask for do some surveys with them this year, anonymous ones, to get some constructive feedback on what we can do to further improve. And I'm going to proactively, we as a team are going to proactively try and engage with clients, not just through phone calls out the blue, which I know you do with clients, whether it's on their birthday or whatever, just to ask how they're doing, but also, and the classic phrase, what can I do for you? But also via social media, via shorter video clips that I'm going to do, that I'm going to create some short videos, further letters, postcards, engagements, direct personal emails, to the point where I'm not badgering them, but that we're just upping our game a little bit and trying to demonstrate that they are, very, very important to us, and we need to ask them what we can do to help them.
I think I agree with you. We don't ask the clients. We don't want to ask clients how they want to work. If we were to bring a new service level in, we might say, would this be a value to you, that sort of thing. I completely agree about adding extra services to your client and stuff like that. One thing that we've decided to do this year is a quarterly webinar for our clients. So just to give to a touch point, it can be recorded or host it. It'll be live, so they can either join live or then just watch it on a catch up.
To talk about what?
I think just talking about general financial planning and what's going on. So there's lots of changing around business property relief. There's lots of changing around the pensions. We've got I think I mentioned on there, in my opinion, a lunatic in the States who's going to cause lots of airways. So it's really just a case of, we're a financial planning firm and we lead with financial planning, but there's no doubting it that we invest our clients' money and they want to know what's going on. So Dimension will do some sort of literature every quarter about their portfolio. So we might borrow some of that information, and I'll probably do it with Christian. So we'll do it as a double. And I've not recorded one yet. I'm thinking of doing one probably around the end of January to kick it off, and then do it at the end of every.
What, a pre-recorded one?
No, I'll do it live. I'll invite all the clients. We'll do it live, but it will be recorded. So if they can't make it live, they can just watch it.
No, I can see that as being beneficial. As long you got to do things like anonymize the videos, get everyone to turn their cameras off, and they can communicate by putting their hand up, if you like, within the Zoom chat, and send text messages, send questions in that you can answer them. It's quite difficult to do it. If everybody's looking all at the same time and everyone's talking, it's very difficult because they don't turn the microphones off.
Yeah, Dimension will do something very similar. I think they use Cisco's system, WebEx or something.
Yeah.
So there won't be any communication, any chat. It's basically an information broadcast. They can send messages or emails in afterwards and we'll respond to them, but it's not going to be a meeting online. It's going to be, hey, look, guys, this is where we are. This is what's happened over the last 90 days. This is what we think is going to happen over the next 90 days. Get any questions, any concerns, please just reach out to us.
In our, I had a meeting with Kevin earlier today about our trails bulletins. That's our model portfolios, and we're doing our winter bulletin, which goes out in January, and we have a summer bulletin, actually in summer in July. And one of the overarching sort of conclusive remarks that I wanted to put in this review for clients was the difference between truth and fact, and the confirmation bias that a lot of clients have. They listen to something in the press, they listen to a podcast, they read an article, whether it's hopefully not if it could be in social media, and you get an opinion. Like, for example, pensions are bad because of the budget and all that's happened. Therefore, I'll just cancel my premium, or I'll just encash my pension, and do something radical. And they might think that that's the truth. The facts are, you speak to a financial planner who says, I've really looked at this, I've really reviewed it, I've taken some expert advice, I've been to webinars, seminars, I've understood it. Tell me what your concern is. And then there's a misconception that the client might have, and I've had this with clients of mine. I didn't realize that there's no IHT between spouses that you can pass through on death, and that the changes that are coming in 2027 actually are not going to be that restrictive for myself or my spouse. It's only on second death. The point is that there's lots of this that happens, and the way that somebody thinks about whether it's their business or the markets or their money or their investments is super important. You've got to, I think that anybody who's communicating an idea has to do it in a way that's not patronizing, that's not too political or whatever, or too opinionated, but it has to hopefully come across and say, take a step back, open your mind, and here is some information that you might not realize. And by the way, if you can get across that you do have, quite a lot of experience, and that this is our perception, keep calm and carry on, essentially. Rather than say, there's a president that's going to come in on the 20th of January. He's going to make all these changes to tariffs and immigration and migrants and so forth. You control what you can. And that comes down to businesses. Control what you can and don't worry about the rest. I love that phrase. There's only so many things that are inside your control. If you worry about too much, what's going to happen? You're going to be stressed. You're going to try and, burn out,
It's so we also focus on time management and efficiencies. So are there things that can,
I love that.
Yeah, are there things that can be automated? Can we use quick parts a bit more in Outlook? Can
we using AI?
We're using Copilot internally. So I have a Copilot license on our Microsoft package, so it enables me to interrogate what I've got online and stuff. I can record meetings, it does summaries for me and things like that. So it's not the browser version, it's like an internal version. And that's really good. That's very good. We don't use anything like Saturn or Planner Pal or anything. For me, we have a way of doing things. It's a really good way of doing things. It's worked for us for years. They produce their output. When they can produce the output that I want it to look like I want it to look like, then I'll engage with it. But
have you tried Saturn?
Yeah, I've tried them both. I've tried both from Saturn and Planner Pal, and they're both great companies. They're both good. And if it works for your company, then I'm not sort of dissing the company.
But the point was is looking for efficiencies, and as you say, if you can, that's not just note taking or recording meetings and summarizing them. It's to do with workflows. Tools that use software that use generically, clarifying responsibilities for each team member for up-and-coming projects and events, and communicating these habits, these roles with your team, and looking to ways to, as I say, have teams work together or to set individual tasks for people. So another thing that anybody can do, regardless of the business, is to develop the roles and responsibilities for each of their staff members and make sure and review them and saying who's doing what are you responsible for? And do that. What are you good at doing, and what are you happy doing? Because people work best when they're at their happiest. And if they're doing something they're good at, they're probably going to be more efficient at it than you.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, definitely.
There's a section that I wanted to mention about marketing, and I wonder if what you're doing, Warren, if you've got any changes or plans for the way that you market or promote yourself, whether it's events or social media or community engagement or anything like that?
So I guess we're not on any of the platforms like Biased or Vouch for.
Mhm.
Okay. The only way we get new business is through referrals or through the pull marketing we do on social media. So, we had this came up in our meeting today, and we got like 12 or so referrals last year. We can't take on loads of clients. So our organic growth through our referrals
Yeah.
is fine. And if I needed more clients, I would just ask the clients,
Yeah.
say,
I actually didn't mean marketing to try and find new clients. I meant the marketing as in the brand development, the way that you engage and communicate with your existing clients. That's what I meant by it. Because there's a difference in between marketing and branding. And when you say marketing, a lot of people think, right, you're just there to get new business. Like yourself, I'm not actually motivated to take on lots and lots of new clients. It's got to be a good fit. It's got to be the odd client where we've got capacity, and I'm not giving up time to other clients that are already paying for it. That's why I'm
so
trying to fill reduce our capacity at the moment by taking on more staff. Or
so
sorry, increase our capacity by taking on more staff.
the only things the only things we're looking to do more so for our existing clients is these quarterly webinars.
Yeah,
Okay. And we did, and it for some reason last 2 years it's fallen off the bandwagon. We do reporting for our clients' tax to their accountant. So rather when the tax statements are ready from Transact, rather than
yeah,
the client just downloading it, we'll download it, we'll send it to the accountant for them
yeah.
directly.
Good.
Make sure we'll liaise with the accountant. So we're rekindling that. That's going back in.
That's
Um,
there's a process for that, and we have one where if you just send the annual report, which can for some clients can be particularly long, instead, one of the things that I know Transact have taken on board, which is I'll take absolute credit for, is updating their, and I've been asking for years and years and years, the pension subscription, pension contributions tab, where it shows you breakdown of
oh,
net, gross, employer, employee, personal employer contributions over the previous years. And I said to them, it's not good enough, it's not good enough. And you see, with the annual report, instead of giving the taxable income report, the one pager that shows all the income derived from the portfolio for people with large general investment accounts, that in itself is still inaccurate because not inaccurate, incomplete, because it doesn't show the breakdown of the offshore income. So you have to go into the annual report to see the breakdown of bond income, which is fixed income, fixed interest, and the equity income. And it's about a 5 pager. It's the full the breakdown of annual income. We then send the CGT report, realised gains, and then we send the contributions to pensions report if they've made personal contributions, and the pension certificate. So it's 3 documents sent to the client and say, this is all you really need to send to your accountant. They don't need the rest of the stuff. They need to know what have you
okay.
contributed to pensions, what's realised gains have there been, what's the taxable income in your portfolio. Here it is. And if you just give the client what they need, and you say forward this onto your accountant, and someone's quick and can get it off there quickly, that is better in my view than giving them a 80-page document, as the
Hmm.
annual report can sometimes be, and saying it's in here somewhere. Just
Yeah.
find it because
So
it is in there, but it's too long.
we're doing that. We break our goals down per team member, and we then set rocks every quarter. It comes from a book called Traction, and one of Christian's rocks is to create a guide for clients who do their own self-assessment. So we can say, look, here's the guide. This is the information you've been given. This is
Yeah,
where you put that information on that report. This way you put that. So we've
sure.
got 2 sets of clients. We've got those clients whose accountant does it. So we want to
Yeah,
send that directly to the accountant. We build a
yeah,
relationship with the accountant. The accountant thinks we're great. They might send us some referrals, hopefully one day. And then we've got the clients do it themselves. We want to make sure it's seamless, easy, and comfortable for them to do it. So what
yeah.
information can we give you to do that? So
Very good.
yeah, that's the two things.
Last thing that I wanted to mention, because I think it's just come to mind there, because we'll move on in a minute to some quotes and anecdotes, is when you're running any business, there's always an assumption as well. Besides you getting the branding, the marketing, the processes, the procedures, all these things we've been talking about right, and your turnover and your numbers right, is that you're just doing things efficiently from a tax point of view. And if you're running a business, if you happen to be an accountant or a financial planner and you're pretty good at remuneration structure, share ownership, benefits in kind, what things you can expense through the business and what you can't. Even the best financial planner will still need probably to speak to their accountant, who's an expert in this, to say, what can't I do? So I would encourage medium to larger businesses, even small businesses potentially, to have a meeting with your accountant, talk about the best way to remunerate yourself, whether it's salary, dividend, pensions. And then obviously there's certain expenses that you can legitimately put through, and then think, how often am I going to pay myself, and who's going to get what, and making sure that you're doing it all correctly and, legitimately. Because it's very easy to get into a right mess, quite frankly, with expenses and costs if you're not using some software like Xero that we use, or Sage or QuickBooks, or a decent bookkeeping software, whichever one you like. If you're not adding all the credits and debits and analyzing it correctly, you're not putting it in, that you're not being organized, and you'll find that it will come a cropper. So my wife does all the bookkeeping, uploads all the Excels, links the bank statements, sorts out the credit cards, everything goes into Xero. And your accountant after that is basically putting things in certain columns, because they're saying, let's create a code for this one, for this one. And I spoke to a client yesterday about his business turning over, more than 500,000. And he was very, very intelligent, but he still, there's a realization, I think, that came out at the end of the meeting, that he could definitely do with speaking to his accountant or an accountant, because trying to expense things yourself, trying to do things yourself, there are lots of reliefs and expenses and things that you perhaps don't realize, and that you should get advice on, to know what is my potential. If I turn over X and my expenses are Y, what is my profit going to be? What is my corp tax bill going to be? And when do I need to pay it? Oh, it's 9 months after the end of my company tax year. Right, I should save for that. What about VAT? What about payroll? How much cash do I need to retain in my business for general cash flow?
It's interesting, isn't it? I think even if you go to, it's just like a financial plan. If you go to your accountant, they're going to give you a different answer. If you go to different accountants, should I say, you get a different answer, because there doesn't seem to be like a definitive rule book. But yeah, you definitely want to be running the businesses as tax efficiently as you can, to make sure that you are as efficient as a business and productive. We're here on that one. And I think it's really important, if you don't have this, is to have a cash flow, a 36-month cash flow for your own business. So we have, our income, our expenses, and we project that out 36 months. So we've got a good guide of where things are going in the future. Now, we're fortunate in the businesses that we operate that we have good recurring income streams, so we don't have generally fluctuations. But what that does allow you to do, if there was a market correction and your recurring income drops, say 25%, an extreme, what does that look like on the bottom line on your cash flow and your income and expenses? So
got to be resilient.
Your
business has got to have resilience built into it.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So to round off our show, I have got a number of good quotes that I think will go with some of the things that we've just mentioned.
Cool.
But because I've been talking probably 70% of the time, Warren, why don't you kick off and give us some of the decent quotes or anecdotes?
Okay, right. Let me read these ones out for you. So the first one: plans are nothing, planning is everything.
Very good. Who said that?
Go on, you can tell me.
Dwight D. Eisenhower.
There you go. Even like the D in there as well. And I think that's really important. When people leave and they leave with their plans, I always say to them, it's just a static document. It's this ongoing relationship that's most important thing. I've also got, we always overestimate the change that will occur in the next 2 years and underestimate the change that will occur in the next 10. Don't let yourself be lulled into this inaction. That was by Bill Gates.
Oh, very good. Very good, yeah.
It's kind of like paraphrase that we underestimate what we can achieve in a decade and overestimate what we can achieve in a year.
Very good, very good. I've got a couple here. There's one. The first one's by Tim Berry, who's a US entrepreneur and author, in his 70s now. Good business planning is 9 parts execution for every 1 part strategy.
Okay.
The reason I like that is because there are a lot of people that spend ages planning, ages with the processes and systems, ages telling you, doing all the MI, but don't actually execute, don't actually go out and do it, don't actually sign up any business. So you have got to be aware, absolutely, that when you're running a business, largely you are selling, and you've got to value time, and you've got to generate revenue. The rest of it falls into place, if you like. Second one by Benjamin Franklin: by failing to prepare, you are preparing to fail.
Yeah.
I think that's obvious.
Yeah, I like that
Warren Buffett said this: in the business world, The rear view mirror is always clearer than the windshield.
I've not heard that one. I do
know.
like that one, though. I do like that one.
My French teacher at school used to call it a post-mortem. You're always basically reviewing what's happened and trying to analyze. You're driving using your rear view mirror. I've used this analogy before. Clients are saying, "Oh, I wish I'd invested in the US Magnificent Seven over the last 10 years. Or I wish I'd had 100% in the US because I'd have had a better return." I'm like, okay, great. If I'd have known that, I would have put you in it. But you've got to forget where you've been. It's deciding where are you now and then move forward. Listen, my last one is this, which I think is probably the most relevant. I'm going to ask you who this is from, Warren. So, it is not the strongest of the species that survive, nor the most intelligent, but the one most responsive to change.
I do know who that is.
He's an evolutionist.
Yeah, I know. Go on, tell me.
Charles Darwin.
Darwin. And it was on the tip of my tongue. I promise you, listeners, it was on the tip of my tongue.
How many people are not prepared to make changes to their business, to their processes, to their thought process, and we're caught up in our current thinking? And those that are prepared to make changes, to take on advice, and to try new things, in my opinion, you don't just have to change everything, but change one thing if you like.
Without opening up another conversation, change is relative in its approach, and we like certainty as individuals. And that's, change is one of the hardest things out there, honestly. Hey, take from a guy who's lived in a house for 20 years and he's about to go and move. So
we're going to talk about that in future episodes, your move and so forth. And this whole idea about change, as you said, because it's a big subject in itself. It's a big behavioral NLP type subject, where, as you say, a lot of people don't like change, so adapting to it is quite difficult.
Super brilliant. Hey, Paul, thanks. And everybody for listening. Thank you for tuning in to the Finance Geeks. That's it for today. We'll be back in a couple of weeks to cover our next session. So tune in.
See you guys. Bye now.
Thanks for tuning in to the Finance Geeks. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave us a 5-star review. Drop your comments and questions on YouTube, and be sure to follow us on social media. Join us next time for more insights to boost your financial planning game.